10 years of marriage, my husband Brandon and I never had children. He was always dissatisfied with me. But I never imagined Brandon would secretly find someone to bear him a child. He even brought that woman to the local hospital where I worked and asked me to examine her. At that moment, the man standing before me felt like a complete stranger. It seems love always ends this way. Before we continue, please subscribe to this channel and tell us where you're listening from in the comments. Confirmed pregnancy, these two simple words sent Brandon into a frenzy of joy. In the hospital corridor, he shamelessly embraced the woman and spun her around, shouting excitedly, "I'm going to be a dad. I'm going to be a dad." Bystanders caught the infectious joy and smiled, while medical staff who knew the situation exchanged awkward smiles. After all, he was director's son, who would dare to say anything? I couldn't bear to watch, so I quietly closed the department door. In that instant, the noise was shut out, muddled. Not long after, the closed door was pushed open again. Brandon walked in, his arm around the girl named Tiffany. I looked up. Tiffany smiled shyly, gently brushed the hair behind her ear, then pulled out a bag of candy from her purse and offered it to me. Her voice was as sweet as honey. "Grace, have some candy. Let's share our joy together." Was she asking me to celebrate my husband's child with another woman? I refused to take it, but she insisted on pushing it into my arms. I instinctively moved my arm, and with just that slight movement, she accused me. Tiffany shrieked and dramatically collapsed into Brandon's arms, her brows furrowed as she whined, "Grace, I was kindly offering you candy, how could you push me? Have you forgotten I'm pregnant?" The moment she finished speaking, I was violently shoved, my lower back hitting the corner of the table hard. It was Brandon who pushed me, using all his strength. His gaze was sharp as a knife, and he warned me with a righteous tone, "Grace, I'm warning you, don't play games, or you'll regret it." The intense pain brought tears to my eyes. I curled up on the ground, overwhelmed with agony. Perhaps my expression was too pained, as a flicker of apology crossed Brandon's face. But the apology was fleeting. His attention was quickly drawn to Tiffany, who was clutching her stomach and crying out in pain. He scooped Tiffany up, gently placed her on the examination bed, and softly comforted her. "Shoo, don't be scared. The baby will be fine, let's check again, okay?" Immediately after, I was roughly pulled up from the floor. Enduring the pain, I conducted another examination for Tiffany, feeling deeply humiliated. As they left, Brandon sternly warned me, "If anything happens to Tiffany's baby, you'll be held responsible." After they left, I looked at Tiffany's examination report on the computer. The tear streaks on my face had dried. I was tired, truly too weary to argue hysterically with Brandon anymore. I pulled out my phone from my lab coat and firmly told the lawyer on the other end, "Mr. Miller, hello. Please prepare a divorce agreement for me. I want a divorce." Brandon and I were classmates in high school. Back then, he was like the brightest star in the night sky to me, utterly out of reach. He came from a privileged background, was exceptionally handsome, and academically brilliant, simply perfect. Countless girls at school secretly admired him, and perhaps I was one of them. I longed to have some connection with him, yet secretly disdained his flirtatious nature. That's right, back then, Brandon seemed to accept anyone's advances. I thought we wouldn't cross paths again after high school graduation. However, in my final year of college, while I was interning at the local hospital, that star actually approached me. That day, Dr. Hayes had once again used me as an emotional punching bag, criticizing me harshly. As an intern, I had no standing at the hospital, so I could only hide in the stairwell alone at lunchtime and cry. Just as I was crying uncontrollably, I heard footsteps. Before I could hide, the person called out, "Hey, deskmate, long time no see. You're still such a crybaby." In that moment, my heart seemed to stop. I never expected it to be Brandon who called out to me. He actually remembered me. At the time, I didn't know Brandon was director's son. I poured out all the frustrating things I'd encountered at the hospital to him. When I returned to work that afternoon, Dr. Evans proactively called me over and said they were assigning me a new Dr. Hayes. The new Dr. Hayes was exceptionally attentive to me, almost to an excessive degree. At first, I didn't understand what was going on, until the teacher who had always been so difficult and sharp-tongued approached me after work. His attitude had become exceptionally fawning. "Grace, why didn't you tell us earlier that you're friends with director's son? Look how awkward this has become." I instantly understood what was happening. With a nervous heart, I thanked Brandon via WhatsApp. He instantly replied, "Just a thank you? No dinner invitation?" And just like that, we started dating. The day Brandon proposed to me, I didn't immediately say yes. Instead, I asked him a question, Why did you choose to marry me? He hesitated for a long time before saying, because you're the person who can tolerate me the most. This answer wasn't what I expected, and I felt a little disappointed. Now that I think about it, it's more accurate to say I was the most patient one. Because he was always like an overgrown child, outwardly glamorous, but in reality, take care of him. At the time, I hadn't had a chance to fully ponder his words before he pulled me to a quiet park. He knelt there and made a solemn vow. I, Brandon, vow here and now that I will never betray Grace again, or I'll be unlucky for the rest of my life. I was moved to tears and accepted his proposal. Now, with what has happened, thinking back on those words just seems utterly ridiculous. In recent years, he'd often argued with me about having children. He'd constantly complain in my ear, if the family line ends with me, it's all your fault. His family has been spoiling you with everything, and who knew you were incapable of having children? If I had known this, why would I have married you? His words were both childish and hurtful. Sometimes, when our arguments escalated, he would even hit me. And he did so in the most insulting way, slapping me. Although he would always kneel and beg for my forgiveness afterward, it never truly erased the hurt he inflicted. Brandon's infidelity this time was the final straw. For nearly 2 months, he had finally quieted down, no longer arguing with me daily. Instead, he constantly bought baby clothes and toys online. I thought he was obsessed, desperate for a child. I had even compromised, thinking of inquiring about IVF. Now it seems I was deluding myself. No wonder he was so nervous when I looked at his phone that one time. He had a guilty conscience. I hadn't seen Brandon for an entire week since our fallout at the local hospital. Scrolling through his social media post, thriving, immersed daily in the joy of impending fatherhood. I truly couldn't understand how someone could deceive himself to such an extent. That day, when I came home from work and pushed open the door, I saw Brandon holding a large bouquet of roses made of dollar bills. Those vibrant red roses were all folded from dollar bills. The floor was also strewn with them. The moment I entered, he came forward, hugged me tightly, and lightly kissed my neck. He murmured, "Happy birthday, wife." Brandon led me by the hand to the dining table. He had also prepared a candlelight dinner. In that moment, I felt a little dazed. The last time I had such a ceremonious birthday was years ago. Back then, we didn't have so many arguments. Brandon isn't good at hiding things. He looked at me several times, hesitating to speak. I finally spoke first. "Is something wrong?" "Grace, we're husband and wife, so my child is your child. You won't have to go through the pain of pregnancy and childbirth. I found someone to bear it for you. So shouldn't you contribute something in other ways? You're a doctor, you know a lot. Tomorrow, Tiffany will come to our house, and you can be responsible for taking care of her until she gives birth. How does that sound?" Hearing this, I wanted to laugh. How could this man be so shameless, presenting his infidelity so grandiosely? I couldn't help but challenge him. "Brandon, what do you take me for? A nanny?" Brandon stared at me and sneered. "I didn't say that, you did." "Well, a nanny gets 10,000 yuan a month. What do I get for taking care of her?" He could always effortlessly push me to the brink of collapse. Brandon feigned a look of sudden realization and said, "After all that talk, isn't it just about money? You're usually so clear about finances with me, so why can't you resist now? I told you long ago to quit your job at the hospital and stay home to focus on me. 50,000 yuan a month, is that enough? It's more than several months of your salary, isn't it?" I clenched my jaw, enduring. There's a limit to how much you can insult someone. Before, I only wanted a divorce and nothing else. Now, I wanted not only a divorce but also money. Fine, of course. Only a fool wouldn't want money. Bring her over tomorrow. Brandon looked as if he had me exactly where he wanted me, and didn't forget to warn me, "Take good care of Tiffany and her baby. If anything goes wrong, you'll be held accountable." After we finished talking, Brandon left without hesitation. It was as if coming back for my birthday was just an excuse. Yet, my birthday had just passed midnight. Before bed, I called my lawyer again to discuss the details of the agreement. This time, I would make Brandon leave with nothing. At the time, we had indeed signed an agreement that stated if one party was unfaithful, the other would leave with nothing. I didn't hesitate to resign from the local hospital. Immediately afterward, I submitted my resume to a hospital I had admired for a long time. They happened to be hiring, and there was a position suitable for me. Previously, for Brandon's sake, I had stayed at his father's hospital right after graduation and was never truly valued. My name was never on the list for external training or skill development. Because I'd spoken to them, they weren't allowed to send me out of town. I was so foolish back then, thinking he did it because he couldn't bear to be without me. Now it seems he just wanted to keep me firmly under his control. The next day, when Brandon arrived home with Tiffany, I had composed myself and greeted them with a smile. The moment Tiffany entered, she used her usual shy smile, brushed the hair from her ear, and began her passive manipulative words. "Grace, I'm really sorry. I told Brandon it would be too much trouble for you. But he treasures the baby in my belly so much. These next few months will be hard for you, Grace." I just smiled and said nothing. After all, it wasn't yet clear who would have the last laugh. Silently, I retrieved the freshly printed divorce agreement from the bedroom and handed it to Brandon. When he saw it, he froze for a few seconds. After realizing what it was, he forcefully waved the papers, his expression twisted, and asked me, "What is the meaning of this? Who allowed you to talk about divorce with me?" His reaction was precisely what I expected. I pulled out my prepared explanation. "I didn't really want to divorce you, but we can't let the child be labeled an illegitimate child from birth, can we? That sounds terrible." Upon hearing my words, Tiffany's eyes lit up with surprise, and she immediately nodded in agreement. Yes, Grace is right. She even casually took the agreement from Brandon's hand and began reading it. Brandon, who had been dazed for a long time, suddenly looked extremely nervous. He took my hand and asked, "Are you saying you want me to marry another woman?" I nodded and smiled, then forcefully pulled my hand from his. "Exactly. Once the baby's birth certificate is sorted out, we can just remarry, can't we?" Hearing me say that, Brandon smiled, his expression relaxed. He sat back, looking smug, and said, "I knew it. I figured you wouldn't bear to leave me." "Oh, and my dad told me you resigned from the local hospital?" "That's right. Wasn't it to free up time to take care of Tiffany and her baby?" My answer satisfied Brandon. He waved his hand and picked up the agreement, ready to sign. Just then, an obstacle appeared, slamming her hand on the agreement and looking at me haughtily. "You can't sign that. It says you'll leave with nothing." "Brandon, why should she get all the money? Aren't you going to consider me and the baby?" I had learned my lesson too. I widened my eyes and looked at Brandon with extreme innocence. "What's wrong with that? We're just getting a fake divorce, not a real one. Is there a problem with the money being with me?" Brandon said it was fine and signed his name with a flourish. After all, he'd never lacked money since childhood and wasn't sensitive about such matters. His action made Tiffany, who was standing beside him, grind her teeth in anger. After going to the courthouse in the afternoon to finalize the procedures, I couldn't be bothered to pretend anymore. I hailed a taxi, got in, and left, ignoring the two people behind me. "Goodbye, Brandon. Just wait, I'll be sending you another big present." Moving to a new city, starting a new job at a new hospital, and having an endless bank balance, this was a life I could never have imagined before. Now, it has all come true. And I had an unexpected bonus. Noah, the chubby kid from my childhood town who always used to follow me around, was now an OB. We hadn't seen each other in almost 10 years, and he was the one who recognized me first. The chubby kid had grown into a fit and athletic man. The most obvious change was that he was no longer the little kid who used to hide behind me. He had become an adult who could stand in front of me and protect me. That day, on my way to work, as I approached the intersection turning towards the local hospital, a car sped towards me against traffic. By the time my brain registered what was happening, the airbag had already deployed. My body felt like it was falling apart from the impact, especially my head. I felt like my brain had been thoroughly shaken. Sitting in the car, I had no idea what to do next. My mind felt several beats behind. Just then, I heard someone tapping on my car window. I turned my head and saw Noah. He opened the car door and helped me out. It was clear he was very worried about me. He circled me several times, and once he confirmed I was mostly alright, he scooped me up, carried me to his car, and turned on the heater. Then he told me, "Just sit comfortably here. I'll handle things. Let me know immediately if you feel unwell." He then handled the entire accident, communicating with everyone. I just sat in the car the whole time, not needing to move. In that moment, nothing else mattered. I simply felt a heartfelt appreciation for how good it felt to have someone to rely on. Finally, I only had to get out to sign. As I signed, my hand trembled uncontrollably, and my writing was messy. At that moment, I was truly grateful that Noah was there. After taking me from the accident scene, Noah quickly took me to the local hospital and busied himself getting me checked. He also handled the subsequent car repairs and negotiations with the insurance company for compensation. I just needed to sign when necessary. This level of thoughtfulness was something I had never received from Brandon. I knew it was only a matter of time before Brandon found me, but I didn't expect him to storm directly into the hospital and hit someone. Hospitals always have a particularly large number of patients on Mondays. Every time I finished with my patients, the hospital cafeteria would only have leftovers. Over time, I developed the habit of not eating lunch on Mondays. Ever since Noah learned about this habit of mine, he would bring me lunch every Monday, always something different. This time, when he brought me food, I deliberately teased him, "Noah, your cooking is too delicious. Can you bring me food Monday through Friday from now on?" To my surprise, Noah actually considered it seriously and said, "I can, but I can't go home when I'm on duty. So I might not be able to bring you food on those days." His seriousness startled me, and I quickly waved my hand, telling him I was just joking. His job is even more demanding than mine. I was thinking of him, but to my surprise, he grew sad, his face creased as he asked me, "But I wasn't joking. I'm serious. Grace, don't you want to see me every day?" Noah's direct question. I could only keep stuffing food into my mouth. At that moment, Noah's mouth moved, as if he wanted to say something else. But unexpectedly, he was knocked down by a punch from a figure who suddenly rushed out. The person angrily shouted, "Drop dead, you pretty boy. Who gave you permission to flirt with my wife?" It was Brandon's voice. When I saw blood at the corner of Noah's mouth, on impulse, I immediately stepped forward and slapped Brandon. "Brandon, what is wrong with you? We're already divorced." A very clear slap mark immediately appeared on Brandon's face, but to my surprise, he grabbed my hand tightly and wouldn't let go. His eyeballs were covered in red veins, a truly terrifying sight. He was like a beast that had lost its mind, snarling angrily at me. "That was just a fake divorce. Just a fake divorce. You're still my wife, so I won't allow you to have any contact with other men." Brandon squeezed too hard, and my wrist ached. Noah noticed my discomfort and stepped forward. "Ing him, sir, please calm down and release her hand. You're hurting her wrist." What he got in return was another unreasonable punch, but luckily Noah dodged it. The commotion was loud enough that the two security guards at the hospital entrance used their batons to escort Brandon out. I quickly moved closer, wanting to check the injury on Noah's mouth. But he held his hand firmly over his mouth, not letting me see. Noah then changed the subject, telling me to hurry and eat, without mentioning what had just happened. I did feel a little guilty. When it was time to leave work, Noah proactively asked me, "Grace, do you need me to escort you home today?" I agreed, feeling there was no reason to refuse. On the way home, as Noah drove me, I took the initiative to tell him about Brandon and me, though it was difficult to speak about. But I had only just started when Noah made a stop gesture while we were at a red light. He said, "You never mentioned anything about this man to me before he showed up today, so you don't need to feel guilty because he punched me. Don't force yourself to reopen old wounds and tell me about it. It's okay." I was deeply moved, and a spontaneous thought escaped me. The kid has grown up, he knows how to worry about Grace now. He replied with a proud look, "I've been grown up for a while, okay? You just didn't have judgment. Indeed, discernment." When I graduated from high school, Noah had confessed his feelings to me, but at the time, I thought he was an immature minor. So I turned him down. Indeed, age sometimes isn't a reliable measure of maturity. I was merely feeling a bit emotional about having chosen the wrong path, when Noah, looking nervous, thought he had said something wrong and quickly added, No, Grace, I'm not trying to insult you. I just think that man isn't worthy of you." As he spoke, he slapped his own mouth. He was truly adorable. For a second, he made me forget the troubling matter of Brandon and feel genuinely happy. We chatted and laughed all the way to the neighborhood entrance. As the car's high beam swept over, sure enough, he was waiting there. Initially, I was a bit intimidated. After all, unhinged today. I was genuinely afraid he might hit me. But as soon as I saw Noah next to me, straightening his back as if ready for a fight, I felt less nervous. The moment I got out of the car, Brandon's gaze fixed firmly on me. He approached me step by step. With a thud, he once again knelt at my feet. He said, "Wife, I'm on my knees for you. Please, just forgive me this one last time." He said, "Wife, come back." It was just that one time with her. I was drunk, I wasn't conscious. "I truly didn't betray you, my heart has always loved you." He said, "Wife, let's reconcile, okay? I'll never bring up having children again. I just want you, only you." Every word Brandon spoke, to me, was nothing but a pretense. I snorted coldly and lifted my leg to free myself from his hand, which had been tugging at my pants leg. I scoffed at him, "Oh, don't say that. I can't be a disgrace to your family. You should go find someone who can give you a child without trouble. Brandon became even more agitated, desperately pulling at my pants leg. Grace, that document at home, and those photos, you put them there, right? That proves you still care about me, doesn't it? I really know I was wrong. I already know that Tiffany's child isn't mine. See, you still care about me, don't you? Otherwise, why would you do all this? That document and the photos were the big present I sent Brandon. A few years ago, desperate to have a child, Brandon dragged me to the local hospital for a full body checkup. When the results came back, the doctor told us the problem was with Brandon. He had azoospermia. Barring any unforeseen circumstances, he wouldn't be able to conceive a child naturally in his lifetime, unless it was through IVF. After this result came out, Brandon was completely unable to accept it. He was practically on the verge of a breakdown. So he chose to ignore this result and continued to emotionally manipulate me. That time, after learning Tiffany was pregnant, I was deeply pained by Brandon's betrayal, but also very shocked. So I hired someone to follow Tiffany and discovered that the child was indeed not Brandon's. I did all this not because I still had feelings for Brandon, but because I wanted him to feel the same pain. Why should he betray me and still be immersed in the dream of becoming a father? Even though I don't love Brandon anymore, that doesn't mean the hurt he inflicted on me is simply erased. I had already heard from friends about Brandon's reaction when he saw those photos and the document. He smashed everything he could in the house. He sat on the floor, clutching his head, screaming in despair, "Impossible. This is impossible. You actually conspired to deceive me." Afterward, he cried bitterly and drank heavily for days at a bar, then was hit on the head by some unknown drunk, just like him. He deserved it. For men who constantly humble themselves, I don't think there's anything worth saying. I just replied, "If that's what you want to believe, what can I do? Then just believe I'm madly in love with you." Then, under Noah's protection, I entered my home. In the following days, clingy person I couldn't shake off, he followed me wherever I went. During the day, it was fine because Noah was with me, but at night, when I was home alone, seeing Brandon waiting outside my apartment door all night through the peephole was truly terrifying. Until one day, after Noah walked me home, he didn't leave immediately this time. Instead, under my puzzled gaze, he unlocked the door to the apartment across from mine. Watching proudly jingle the keys in his hand, the impact of his action was so great that I couldn't help but hug him. I was so happy, I even thought of roping Brandon into helping Noah move. However, at that moment, happiness turning to sorrow Read. Tiffany, whom I hadn't seen in a long time, suddenly sprang out from somewhere. When no one was paying attention, she rushed behind me and pressed a knife against my throat. Noah and Brandon tried to approach, but Tiffany's shouts scared them, leaving them frozen in place. "Both of you stand still. Otherwise, I'll plunge this knife into her neck." As spoke, I could feel her hand trembling violently. At that moment, I found myself the calmest among them. I gave Noah a look, signaling him to circle around behind Tiffany and act when the moment was right. "What do you want?" "Money, of course." "Your husband, no, your ex-husband now. He got me pregnant, shouldn't I ask him for some money?" Brandon immediately retorted, "Bullshit. That child isn't mine at all. Why are you trying to pin it on me?" Tiffany pressed the knife handle closer to me. "You've already done it, and now you want to deny it. If you don't give me money today, I don't know where this knife will land on her." "Alright, how much do you want?" "I'll give you whatever I have, just don't touch her." Tiffany seemed surprised that Brandon agreed so readily. For a moment, her voice faltered. At that point, Noah had imperceptibly circled around to Tiffany's right rear, swiftly and precisely gaining control of her, and wrested the knife from her hand. Having lost her hostage, Tiffany began squatting on the ground, frantically hitting her stomach. She looked completely insane, laughing hysterically. Afterward, we quickly called the police. Upon arriving at the police station and giving our statements, the police asked Tiffany to contact her family. Who would have thought Tiffany would point at Brandon and say, smiling, "This is my husband, my family." I was surprised for a second, then remembered. The day after I divorced, Brandon and Tiffany got married. Brandon eagerly began to explain to me, "Grace, I can explain. After I saw those photos you left for me, I actually wanted a divorce." But his words weren't interrupted by the police. The officer sternly told Brandon that Tiffany might have a mental illness and that he should take her to the local hospital for a checkup. Then I saw Noah's hand, which he had kept behind his back, was bleeding. It must have been cut when he snatched the knife from Tiffany. After getting permission from the police, I pulled Noah and we left. After that, I didn't see Brandon again for a very long time. The next news I heard about him was that Brandon had been beaten and suffered a severe disability. It turned out Tiffany was part of a group that used pregnancies to swindle men out of money. After they had tricked enough money out of someone, they would arrange various accidents to cause miscarriages. Then they would move on to their next target. If someone refused to pay, they would invent excuses and act crazy, harassing that person until they gave in. Brandon was beaten because he stubbornly refused to pay. This wasn't the first time Tiffany's group had caused severe injury to someone. In the past, they had often used fake certificates from psychiatric hospitals to escape jail time multiple times. Fortunately, this time their lies were exposed by the evidence Brandon had quietly collected all along. They couldn't escape this time, and the court sentenced them to over 10 years in prison. One day, about half a month later, I received a handwritten letter. I only needed to read the beginning to know who wrote it. It was Brandon. To my dearest Grace, how have you been recently? Are you eating well? Are you warm enough? Are you enjoying your time with your colleagues? Thinking back on our 10 years of marriage, I rarely had moments like this where I showed you care. Instead, it was always you, following behind me, asking me these kinds of questions every day. Over time, I even grew impatient and yelled at you. I don't know if you're still willing to accept my belated apology now. I'm truly sorry. Before writing this, I had to write down everything I've owed you for all these years and apologize to you for each one. But as I truly recall, such things were countless. I originally thought your request for divorce was too sudden, but now it doesn't seem sudden at all. Even if I hadn't made a mistake while drunk, you would have asked for a divorce sooner or later. Brandon wrote a very long passage after that, but I no longer had the patience to read it. There was no need, a belated apology only moved himself. Just like recently, my friends all urged me to visit Brandon, saying that my name was the one he uttered most in his hospital room. But I never went, because I didn't see the point. Since we were already divorced, it was best not to have any more involvement. When we first started dating, Brandon also wrote me a handwritten letter confessing his feelings. I had kept that letter for decades. The day I decided to divorce, I threw it away. So, to avoid unnecessary misunderstandings, I crumpled the letter into a ball and threw it away like a piece of trash. The day after I came out of the police station last time, when I was helping Noah move, we became a couple. I was the one who initiated it, because I felt Noah perfectly met all my standards after experiencing a failed marriage and a failed partner. Most importantly, I truly had feelings for him too. The holidays were fast approaching, and Noah and I had planned a trip together. Don't they say the ultimate test for couples is traveling together? I hoped Noah and I wouldn't go together, come back separately. Whatever the outcome, I would accept it, because in the future, I just want to live life on my own terms. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with your friends. We look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments. Feel free to share your perspectives, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more exciting stories. See you next time.